Hey, welcome back to the Successful Lead Generating Coaches Show. This is Arfan, and today I'm going to talk about the new update Andromeda that came out about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and it has been causing all kinds of rumors, fiction, a lot of scariness going on. So I got a message from one of my clients, and we run our ads, everything is going well. We've been on top of a lot of these changes for a while now. So when she messaged me, she just kind of came with a little bit of a freaking out because she's been hearing things from her friends. She says, all my business friends are freaking out about the ads algorithm. I haven't heard much about it, so I wanted to check in with you, see if we made changes, if we discuss anything different. So we've already been implementing a lot of these strategies because we saw the writing on the wall necessarily as far as like how and where meta direction has been going. And for a while now, we've seen a lot of the AI just continuously get implemented in the system, meaning that it's more and more AI driven rather than us as a media buyer driven. Now, we still need to use the system properly because as coaches, the system isn't really designed and created for us, right? A lot of the suggestions, the recommendations, etc., these are not really designed and specifically made for coaches to make us super successful, which is why if you've ever been an ads manager and you're ever setting up an account and you see they give you a recommendation and you look at what the recommendation was for, is I've never seen it where the recommendation was for something in our industry, especially when we talk about like coaching services for life coaching, health coaching, specific niche coaching, whether it's for animals or anything like that. There's never any recommendation that's for us, right? It's always typically related to e-commerce or even their graphic that they're showing. The graphics are all for product based. It doesn't really give that coaching feel. So this becomes even more challenging when updates are made. What happens is that us as coaches, we end up now getting the brunt of that because now it's like this entire algorithm has reset, it is relearning, and we take a big hit and there isn't really clear direction. So fortunately, being behind the scenes managing dozens of accounts and coaching students and teaching everyone, we're able to really see how to make things work, meaning that we're able to quickly see what's not working and what is working. So I want to go through some rumors I've heard, and I also want to just share my opinion and my thoughts on it, and also what the one of the major things that this update is supposed to address, and we've been seeing it actually happen, right? So some of the rumors, right? So number one, no more targeting. Meta will find the audience. And this is not true. You still have targeting. You still have the ability to limit your audiences. In addition to that, you still have the ability to retarget your audience, meaning be able to create custom audience, to be able to send up a retargeting ad, to go to your email list, to go to your video views, to go to those who've engaged with your Instagram and Facebook account, those who've gone to your website. These things are still available. In addition to that, you're still able to create lookalike audiences and also create a lookalike audience that you can target. Here's the thing though, right? With this is that when we're using interest, Meta treats it as a suggestion, meaning that they'll take it into suggestion, but it's not going to be 100%, which is why we often see the recommendation to combine our interest because there's overlap. And the thing is, there is overlap. So Meta has moved to when it says they will find the audience, what they're doing is they're using everything that they know about you. Their system's able to quickly, very, very quickly scan every single thing on your landing pages, your thank you pages, your website, and match it to the people who are actually interested in needing and wanting the services that you're talking about. So what happens is that whenever we put an ad up and we're getting poor results, it doesn't have a good match. The messaging that we're putting up, the headlines, the ad copy, the video, the landing page, it doesn't have a great match. And you can look at your conversion rate and be able to tell, well, what's the conversion rate? Maybe 3, 4, 5%, very, very low, 10, 15, 20% on the lower end. And then you get 20, 25 on the average. And then you have these ones that are 40, 50% because there is a big, big, big match with the messaging from the headline to the copy to everything. And the only way to be able to do this is to be able to produce different messaging angles and be able to run it so we can actually see what is Meta able to match up with the right audience to give us success. And this is how they find the audience. I never really truly believed this until one day we were getting this ad rejected and it didn't make any sense. It made absolutely no sense why this ad would get rejected. So I went on to Meta support, started talking to one of the representative, and I was like, I was like, can you let me know? Like, I mean, look at the ad copy, look at everything. There's really nothing there. So we took a bit. It was like over an hour. And when they finally came back, he was like, he gave me the link to the thank you page, and there was some copy and text on there that was flagging the system, and I quickly realized, huh, they're actually able to scan the whole thing. And when he gave me the link to the thank you page, it wasn't that he registered and signed up. He just gave me the link to the thank you page. So it made me just open my eyes to like, wait a minute, on their system on the back end, they're able to just go through and just scan the entire website very, very quickly and very easily to be able to identify these things, right? So similarly, that's how the algorithm is working now to be able to find your right people. Okay, it's very complex. There's multiple layers of that. They have tens of thousands of data points that we're not privy to at all. So this is how they're finding the audience, and it's a good system. It works well. But those of us who are in like a really tight or really small niche, we really see the negative effects of this, because previously when we did have deep and tight audience targeting, where it was more about choosing the right audience and demographics than it was about making really good ads. And those of us who are like doing both, like we're making really good ads and we're choosing the good demographics, we really stood out because our results was way superior than those who were just trying to do one or the other. But now it's leaning more towards just the creatives, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, right? So the next thing is a rumor is that you need a variety of creatives. So you want to be problem aware, solution aware, product aware, conversion aware, etc. There's 5 levels of awareness for when someone's totally unaware. So there's totally unaware to then problem aware, and then it leads into the rest of them. So these are true. These are is a concept that Eugene Schwartz brought into the world back in the early 60s, 50s, in his book Breakthrough Advertising. And it was really, really great because it opened up a lot of our eyes to knowing that, hey, our ideal client they're on this spectrum. They're on the spectrum of these 5 levels of awareness. And the better we're able to produce content for them, so they're totally unaware, and we're producing analytical and actionable content that really shows them like what the problem is and what they can do. Now they became problem aware, and they're now going into solution aware. And this is where now you're attracting someone and you're moving them towards your product and be able to convert into your offers. Okay. Now the beauty of this is that when it's well crafted, when you work with someone like our team, which we're able to sit down and look at your messaging and really give you the ad hooks and the buckets to be able to produce these type of videos or these type of content, it really sets it apart. But this is crucial. It's not a rumor. It's true. We do need a variety type of ads, and we do need to be able to speak to our ideal client at different levels of awareness so we can be able to convert them into our offer. Okay. The next rumor is that you need 10 new creatives per week. Whoa, 10 new creatives per week. This will be true if we're looking at very generic, very simple. Hey, I have a graphic, and then my number 2 graphic is the same thing with a red background. My number 3 is the same thing with a blue background. This is when you will need 10 new creatives per week. Those ads don't last very long. They go by very, very quickly. Sometimes, yes, you can have one that's running for weeks and months and is doing well, and we're like, hey, this is awesome, and then it tanks or so. But when you're producing high quality video content, you may not need to do as much, but here's the thing. The messaging has to be able to resonate. So the more you're able to get the data and see, hey, you know what? I'm really reaching a lot of people when I'm producing content that's for those who are really problem aware, and now you're producing high quality video content just solely around problem aware. What ends up happening is that your ads will typically do a lot better, and you don't need to do as much. I would probably say 2 to 3 high quality videos or ads per week is really enough. Now, this is also layered because it depends on the budget. If you're spending 30 grand a month on ads, you're probably closer to the 10 creatives per week. But again, it all depends too. What's the quality of it? You may be totally fine just doing 4 to 5. And if you have a lower budget doing $5, $10 a day, there's no way you can crank out that much. You can physically crank out the creatives. However, the system's not going to be able to distribute that enough to be able to give you any data to know if it's working well or not. And you can go into this endless gamut of really producing and pushing out content without giving it enough time to be able to see what the conversions are. Because unless an ad really gets 50 to 100 link clicks, it's really hard to see how well it converts. If the click through rate is below 2%, it's really hard to see how it converts. And these are things that need to really be set in stone when we're producing content to be able to know how it's working with our ads. Okay. The other rumor is that creators should be all formats. This is I think essentially this is something that's very common and is actually absolutely needed. And we got to think about this in terms of our ideal client and the uniqueness of our brand. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. When we think about all formats, well, what's available on Facebook? When you're scrolling on Facebook and you're consuming content, so for example, for me, I go on there and I'm looking at videos that someone may share with me, or just on a news feed, just browsing the news feed, or looking at stories. So I'm looking at news feed, which is square placements. I'm looking at stories, which is the vertical placements, and I'm looking at videos, often in reels, which is again the vertical placement. So these three typically take the cake, meaning that these are the ones that have the most interactions. So when creatives should be in all formats, the reason why that is because it gives you more placement options. The more placement options you have, such as marketplace, um, so you have marketplace groups, there's also the right column on desktop. So there's 31 different placements that you can really have for your ads. So the more you have them in all formats, the cheaper your CPM is going to be. Your cost to reach 1,000 people. The lower that cost often gives a bit of an increased success, because the more people you can reach for a lower cost, even if you have a 20% conversion rate, your cost is going to be lower. If you have 50-60% conversion rate, is when costs are really low. Like they're doing phenomenal. Okay. So this is one of the things you do want to have formats. I say though the most important formats are going to be the square format and also the vertical format. So that way you can be able to capture on, I want to say, about 80% of the traffic that's really happening, and don't really necessarily have to like really concern or worry yourself too much about the other ones, because Facebook does auto format some of your graphics. So it's important to really look at like, how am I designing my graphics? Like, is it going to show up well across the board? And there's also one other format that really can't get duplicated, and this is carousels. And you would need to just create that separately. And I recommend on a monthly basis trying out maybe 3 to 4 different carousel ads to see what's sticking. I love using carousel ads, especially for retargeting and using it for testimonials, because it's a great way to convey 8 to 10 different testimonials in one ad without making it feel very bulky. Okay, so just a little tip there. Now let's talk about the next rumor, which is videos should be highly produced with different clips, voiceovers, etc., but yet look organic. Now this automatically, when I read this, I feel a lot of pressure. I feel like so much pressure in having to produce these really high quality videos, meaning that it becomes, if we're thinking about producing 10 creatives a week, or even producing 2 to 3 a week just for ads alone, not including what you're doing organic, it can be a lot of pressure, especially if you're looking at doing different clips and different editing and things like that. Now, I will say this, after running, hundreds of videos, those that are really done well, especially in a storytelling capacity, to where it's produced, it has different camera angles, there's gentle music over it, and it really speaks to the core, and there's a clear, crisp message, that's going to outperform just the random video that is, popped up with the camera. But at the end of the day, I've ran ads that were really highly produced, and unfortunately, sometimes it's like trying to tell someone their baby's ugly, because it's like, hey, I know there was a lot of time, energy, and effort that went into this, but when we ran this, man, the ad sucked. And it's one of those things where we joke about it. Sometimes you gotta do a little candlelight visual and say goodbye to the dead ad, because unfortunately it just didn't produce, and it was dead on arrival. It just didn't get the click through rate, didn't get the conversions, and unfortunately it didn't resonate the way we would hope. Now, this can sometimes happen despite our best effort in marketing, which is one of the things where there's a benchmark where for every 5 to 10 ads we put up, we want to aim that at least 20-25% of them will stick and will be able to resonate with the audience. And this is the reason for wanting to produce multiple content. Similarly to like organic, and organic is on like a bigger scale, because typically in order to make it organic, the recommendation is posting at least 4 to 5 times a day. And those who are super successful organic, this is what I see them doing across from posting a regular post, a reel, and then posting in their stories. They're very, very active. So the sheer amount of content on organic is about 10 times greater than you would need when you're looking at your advertising. Okay. Now, when it comes to being highly produced, you can still accomplish this using your cell phone and leveraging some AI tools like Submagic, Video.ai, and there's Opus Clips. There's a whole bunch of them out there that can be able to give really good captions, be able to clip the uhs and the ums and the pauses, and be able to also add B-roll footage to make the to make the video look really good. Now, I will say that some of these AI things aren't 100% perfect. They can be very random, so you do need to make sure that you're really watching it and that it really conveys the message. Because one of the worst things is having a video that is done through AI and then it's not really like good quality in the sense of like it checks the box. It was highly produced, has different clips, it got the voiceover, it looks like it's organic, etc. But then when you actually look at it, it's like the clips don't make any sense. The voiceover is an awkward time, the switches are awkward, and we want to be able to make sure that it really, really it meets the messaging criteria and that the hook is very clear, the transitional story of relating to the audience, telling them what more about telling them more details about what we're talking about, and then having a clear call to action are super important. There's three parts of a video that I always communicate: is the hook, story, and call to action. Now, the story don't gotta be a personal story. It's gotta be something that relates to the audience. We're using storytelling. This is often one of the best ways to be able to get ads that convert the best. And this is absolutely hands down the best way to go. Now let's talk a little bit about this update and what like the hopes are essentially, and also what we're noticing. So one of the biggest thing is that it's impacting a lot of business, especially those with tighter niches. So if your niche is already on a smaller size, you may notice these effects even more. You may have an increased cost per lead compared to peers who have more of a mass market product. Okay, so it's okay to say, hey, my cost per lead is 3 to 4 times higher than a friend of mine, but we're just serving two different people, and I can't beat myself up about that because what I've discovered is that certain niches, whoa, it is not going to be a $3 to $4 or $5 cost per lead. It's going to be much higher than that. And that's part of the nature of it. It's part of realizing that sometimes is that it doesn't make us give up on trying to on putting out great creatives or testing different audiences and lookalikes, etc. However, it's also knowing that how can we make these numbers work? What does our internal KPI need to be? And some of our very successful coaches, their cost per lead is well into the above the tens and the 20s, but we have the KPIs. We know exactly what it takes to convert people, and we're able to make the numbers work to consistently produce a 3x, 4x, up to 10x return on ad spend within the first 30 to 90 days. And of course, definitely within the next 9 to 12 months to be able to give a significant return on an investment. Okay. So um, a couple things is that you want to be implementing a wide variety of messaging to meet your ideal client where they are. You have to meet them where they are, not where you are. Because if you're trying to meet them where you are, there's going to be a big disconnection. And when you have that disconnection, unfortunately, we don't get the results that we want to get. Okay. The next thing is that Facebook they've been introducing what's called Advantage Plus Creatives. Now, this has been being introduced for quite a bit now. It came out early in 2022, and it was very simple back then, but now it's become more complex. Back then, it used to be where they would just kind of leverage your copy the way they would want to. So they would be able to like have free reign to say, hey, I'll take your headline and make that your primary ad copy. Or they'll just use some really, really generic short versions of ad copy. And it was really poor, it was really terrible, and it didn't really do a good job. And they had this feature hidden, so it wasn't very easy to see. It wasn't easy to see at all that this was turned on, and it really caused a lot of problems. So now, along the way, that's changed, and now Advanced Plus Creative is really robust to the point where when you're setting up the ad, what happens is that you have the option to add music, do different backgrounds, make things like zoom in, zoom out, like edit the contrast and all these things. And what happens is that when all these options are turned on, when all these nine enhancements are turned on, it takes this one ad and turns it into 20 different ads because you have one with music, you have one with headline A, one with headline headline B plus music, and it creates all these different ads, and it started to overwhelm the system. So previous to this, like again, like I mentioned, someone just upload maybe in totality 3 to 6 ads and call it a day, and that was great. That was a good amount of ads. That would give pretty decent results. We'll be able to have enough for the system, be able to test and see which angles are working, etc. Now that same person that would do the same thing when Advantage Plus gets a hold of it, those 3 to 6 ads easily become way more than 20 ads. And the previous algorithm, what Facebook would do is that they'll typically find one or two of these ads, and then they'll start pushing it out, push the majority of the budget there. And I was analyzing some accounts, and one in particular, in one campaign, we had nearly 500,000 impressions. This ad reached 500,000 people. And out of the 20 different active ads, three of them were the ones that really took the bulk of the impressions, like the bulk of the budget. And this is when we talk about Facebook will find your people, right? So we give them enough creatives for them to match to what people are wanting, which is why those three just really took it. And honestly, it was two of them that took the vast majority, like 60% of the budget. The other one was very, very small. Okay. Now, as especially over the past 7 days, as this trend is starting to change and this new algorithm update is starting to show its head a lot more. When I was looking at it, out of the ads, the 18 ads that we have active, 10 of them were being distributed more evenly. So it was a big difference in terms of the distribution that we're seeing across the board. And this is also noticeable too on smaller accounts where the ad spend is less than $200 a day, less than $100 a day. It's also noticeable there too as well. So what's happening right now, this new version is designed to help distribute it more effectively and reach a wider audience. So this gives us some good news in that it gives us a lot more confidence to be able to put 10 to 15 ads in one ad set versus just giving 3 to 4 to 5 ads in one ad set and then putting the rest of them in a different ad set because we want to be able to test and really see what the results are. Now in my experience, what I've noticed is that when you have a smaller niche, it's better to separate them into different assets where you have maybe 3 to 4 to 5 in one ad set and the next one there, so you can be able to more quickly see which messaging is working well. And then once you have a good idea of which 5 to 6 or 7 different messages working well, you can combine them all into one. If you have a bigger and a broader niche and your CPM cost is low, like it's in the teens or very low 20s, this is a chance where you're actually able to put in a good 15, 20 ads in one ad set, and you'll start seeing that your results are more like you get better results because the system they have the capacity, they have the budget to be able to distribute it. So it's one of those calls you have to make depending on what results you're seeing inside your ad account, depending on what your CPM is, right? What your click through rates are. Okay. Now, if you're not running ads, you don't have any information, you're like, okay, this is overwhelming. I'm even more scared, Arfon. I don't want to run ads anymore. I want to say it's become simpler. How's it become simpler? A lot of the time, energy, and effort was spent on finding the right audiences, and not enough time, energy, and effort was spent on producing valuable messaging. Now that's shifted to where there is less time, energy, and effort focused on audiences, and more can be put into now saying, what do I want to say? What do I want to communicate? And how do I want to communicate to this audience so I can speak to them at their level? And the more we can be able to focus on that, my best accounts right now are the ones that are doing exactly that. Like it's the content speaks directly to the ideal client at their level, and we can see the resonance. We can see the difference in results. Okay, so lean into that. I will say, fear and intimidation about advertising comes up because of the fear of loss or the fear of failure, and often this stems because of somebody else's past results or even our own ability to embrace failing, embrace potentially losing some income towards as it didn't work. Now I do operate a side of caution, meaning that if a client gives me a budget, and I had this conversation just a few days ago with a client because they were like, well, I was hoping we could push the budget out a little quicker. I was like, well, there's no way we're going to do that because the KPIs aren't where it needs to be. So I'm not going to blow your budget on ads that are not meeting KPI, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is it's going to blow the budget, results aren't going to be there. So we dialed it back, introduced the different creators, and when it was starting to meet the KPI, that's when we increased the budget. Similarly, I recommend you do the same thing. Don't go into advertising to saying, hey, I have a $2,000 budget to where you're going to put $100 a day and just kind of set and forget it. No, go in there, start a little small, break it down, go 10, 15, $20 a day. Working on testing a few different ads to see what you get, see what's giving you results before you scale. You want to scale what's working. And sometimes it takes a little bit. You may have to do iterations. It may take 4 to 5 or 6 versions to be able to identify, wow, what is the audience on Facebook resonating with? What is Facebook saying? Hey, I like this. I like this message. We have a lot of people we can send this to. And why do I say that? Why do I say Facebook says, hey, I like this message I want to send to you? This is the direct relation to the CPM cost, because the CPM cost is something that can be punishing or rewarding. Punishing in the sense of the messaging isn't in alignment and you have a CPM cost of 75, 80, or $100, or even above, anything above $45 essentially is on the higher end. It's going to take so much more. It's like trying to run a marathon wearing a weighted vest is going to be more difficult. Like, yeah, you're still moving and you're still seeing results coming, but it's more difficult. And that's why I say it can be punishing, because now it's like, it's a punishing experience. Running a marathon with a weighted vest is a very punishing experience. Some people do it, they like it. But besides the point. So now it's rewarding when you do the labor of actually doing the variations and testing different messaging and angles, etc., videos, whatnot. And now you're looking, you're just like, wow, my CPM cost is $15. My KPIs are being met. I had good click-through rate, good conversion rate. And now what it becomes is optimizing the back end to make sure that the back end is converting the clients the way you need to. And that's where the games becomes real. Because this is where you start getting into scalability, because you're maximizing conversions, not trying to get traffic. Like, you got the traffic locked in. The traffic is working, right? You locked in on your ads, they're working, and you have consistent lead generation. People are coming in, they're buying, and you're like, okay, how do I get it to now go from people are coming in, I'm getting leads that are good KPI cost, meaning that they're where they need to be in my business. I'm seeing maybe like um 2 to 3 or 4% of those people converting some of my offers, and depending on the price point. So one of my clients, for example, we started an offer. They just wanted lead generation for them. They never had good lead generation. So we started it, and I was like, hey, like, you guys didn't tell me you guys have things for sale. Like, I asked you guys about this. We never had this. And they go, oh, we didn't think that would really matter to the ads because it's just something different. I'm like, no, ads will work like that way. It's like, for example, like in the real world, like someone advertises a movie, people buy a ticket to go to the movie, then they go to the movie theater, and indirect conversion is when they also purchase concessions and all these other upgrades. So now what happens is that the same person, now their average order value is increased. Even if you have a free order or free product, you still have offers on the back end. You're still going to have an average order value. So in the first month of running the ads, we had 38% of the ad cost being covered. And I was like, hey, no, we gotta optimize this, because it's possible to get this to where 100% of your ad costs are covered. You're getting essentially free lead generation. You're maximizing profitability in the back end. And it was just like this mind blowing moment of like awareness of like, whoa, wait. Advertising is not just a direct linear path. It's also like when you capture a lead and that lead comes into our world, what is that lead doing? And if we see a commonality of people coming in, so if I have a store and people are coming into my store and they're going to one section and buying, and in these other 5, 6 sections just collecting dust because no one's going there, it's like, okay, well, I can just either make those other sections similar to the one that is converting. Now I have 5 sections that people are coming in, and they're now, instead of going to one area buying one thing, they're actually browsing and they're buying 1 to 5 different things, because I'm actually meeting them based on what they need. And it's a similar type of experience with our advertising. Our audience is going to tell you things, and they're going to show up in a certain way. And the more we can be able to speak to them and resonate with them at their level, we're going to be able to convert more and more. And this is what sets apart some of our accounts that are actually producing results where they're not just getting lead generation, but they're also getting people to sign up and purchase and convert. And they're able to now consistently run ads because, well, guess what? The 1,500, 2,000, 5,000, $10,000 a month that's going into lead generation is being covered because of some of the low ticket or product sales that are happening on the back end. And when they move into the high ticket sales, where it's like the bread and butter of the company, this is where we see 5x, 10x ad return on ad spend. And those of you who operate in low ticket, just having 1 or 2 low ticket offers as soon as someone enters your pipeline is enough to offset some ad costs. Now, if you flesh that out more and you say, I'm going to really build a self liquidating offer, yeah, it's a freebie, But on the back end, I have a self-liquidating offer that's generating, and it starts off with that first piece of identifying what the audience is doing and saying, because you can then add in an upsell, add in a downsell, add in a second order bump, etc. And what happens now is that break even now turns into profit, and that ad that was doing a 1x ROAS, where it's just breaking even, is now 1.2. You got 20% return on investment. At 1.5, a 50% return on investment. And when you go into the three and fours, you're looking at a 300, 400% return on investment, dollar in, $3 out. And this is where it's like, it can sound small, like a 2x, 3x doesn't sound like a huge number, but when you're talking about 50 grand or 100 grand or $250,000, it's a lot of money. It's a large amount of money, and it's high ticket, is very valuable. And this is one thing that separates it out. Even at the very beginning, if it's $1,000 being invested and you're making 1,500, it's profitable. That allows you to scale, because now you're like, depending on where you are, that can go back into ad spend, go back into different operational costs to allow you to get the resources you need to potentially, hey, create a different another a downsell or so, to where it may just be a guide or a master class that can be sold for $17, $27, and you're adding and you're increasing the average order value. And it all, of course, has to make sense with the offer. We're not just putting some random slapping offer up there and see what happens. We're often very intentional, looking at that level of awareness, meeting the client where they need, and we're taking them through that journey from being unaware to problem aware to now being solution aware, product aware, and now they're converging. They're a client of yours. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're interested, if you're curious as far as like how your industry, how your niche is doing after the Andromeda update, just hit reply to the email or shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook with your industry. I'm happy to give you a response. If you need hands-on support, if you're looking to work with a team, if you're looking to partner with someone that's going to be able to give you the strategic direction and be able to really not just set up ads and leave it alone, but to work with you to make sure that your ads and your funnel and your marketing is converting, let's schedule a time to have a call. I offer these complimentary scale with ads call, and during these call we sit together to really gain crystal clear clarity on what your funnel needs in order to be successful through advertising, and I give you a blueprint of exactly what you need to do to get success with ads, whether you take it and run with it on your own or you have me and my team help you out. Either way, it's a win-win. So book that call. It's totally free. So it's arfanhussein.com/start, or just go to www.arfanhussein.com or www.growautomatescale.com to be able to book that. Like I said, it's totally free. And if you have any questions, if you're wondering if you should book that, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, right? Open communication, hit reply to the email. There's lots of ways to get a hold of me, lots of ways to find me. And I would love to have a conversation with you and then be able to see how I can support and help you. With that being said, talk to y'all later. Have a great one. Bye.